I recently had the opportunity to read your book for the first time, and there is so many parallels between the core thesis around becoming built to lead and your book, Unchosen Suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to explore that topic more. That honestly, that if there was a theme I'd say for this conversation in total, it is this idea of chosen versus unchosen suffering. Mm-hmm. And as I read the book, like what became kind of abundantly clear to me is that in choosing our own suffering, it is preparing us for the inevitable unchosen sufferings to come in life. And I feel like wrestling as a sport, I mean, that's the ultimate chosen suffering, right? I mean, you're literally choosing to step into the ring with somebody. But, maybe, Grappy, I'd love to hear a little bit of background as to not necessarily why you wrote the book, but what really started to build in your coaching experience that instilled this idea in why someone should choose suffering in their life?
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with Chet.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was attracted to Chet and his thinking.
Yeah.
So the first for me is, you're kind of picky about who you let into your circle. And after meeting Chad, I went and watched a Built to Lead practice, as Chad said, but I'll also, which blew me away, just the openness and of the team he was leading. I just couldn't believe how open these people were with each other. Mm-hmm. And it blew me away. Like, man, I need more of that, more communication among my team, just sharing openly with each other and not being offended when someone challenges you. But the thing also that what drew me to Chet was actually chosen suffering.
Yeah.
So I went and worked out with them in the morning, and I just believe that if you can't manage discomfort, then you can be brilliant and you can change the world, but you're not going to be in my inner circle. Right. So it's just something, it's a belief that I have that I just want to surround myself with people that kind of walk the walk and live it. And when I went to work out with them, I mean, I was pretty fit, and I went to work out with them, and I don't think I could smile or cough or move freely for like 3 or 4 days after this core workout. I was so sore.
Yeah.
I was dying. And there's a bunch of guys in there that are just, crushing their core, their literal core. Right? Is it literal?
Mm-hmm.
Their core, your abs. And it was like, wow, these guys, I mean, they're tough. They're tough. So that was first. I believe I did that before I went to see what he does at Built to Lead. I want to know what he's like made of, And so I was impressed. I'm like, wow, he's really a tough person. Mm-hmm. And even though he doesn't look it, he is.
It's so great.
So and it's like you don't know what's under behind door number 3.
Yeah.
And I saw what was behind the curtain. So that really attracted me to him. And then it was just going to his practice. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if so what was the original question?
Actually I haven't interjected.
And then the coast suffering.
Yeah, but my question, because Chet and I actually had a practice today, and one of the things we're talking about with me is really the challenge in building persistence in some capacity. It's that skill set, and I think it is a skill set that regardless of the outcome, you continue to, press on and press forward. And what I was curious about, and like you recognize that trait in Chet, do you think that's something you can train into someone?
Yeah, I would say that's an interesting question. And I would say, I think our belief system is based to some degree on our experiences. And for me, as a 7th grader, they moved me up to varsity wrestling in 8th grade. And I wanted to be great.
Yeah.
So my lens was only at those who were great. That's who I was looking at. I wasn't concerned ever with, quite frankly, with the one that didn't want to be great. My eyes were on the ones that want to be great. And there was a kid in my high school named Kenny Meadows. And Kenny was the best guy in the team. And I was an 8th grader. They moved me up to varsity in 8th grade. So immediately it was, who's the best guy in the room? Is Kenny Meadows. So let me ask Kenny questions. Kenny, how'd you get so good? Why are you wrestling at a level that right now I can't comprehend? And he said, I go to this camp. It's a 1-month camp over the summer. It's called the J. Robinson Intensive Wrestling Camp. He was a Ranger. He was an Olympian. And his camp was designed to connect people to what their capacity is in terms of suffering. Mm-hmm. How much? It was 4 workouts every day, 6:30, around 11, 3, and around 7:30 at night. It's with 4 workouts a day. And I wanted to go because this guy was an animal, and I wanted to be an animal. So early on in my life, I think I just learned to follow those that chose the hard way.
Yeah.
Because everyone in my life that has done well in wrestling chose the hard way. I don't know anybody that didn't. So when you meet people that have no fear of discomfort, it's like, yeah, I want to be around that person.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. It's definitely something that Chet and I are diving in on together a little bit. And once you start to feel some comfort in your life, it's easy to sit back in that place, I think, but it's not fulfilling. And the ultimate thing I think that any of us are searching for is fulfillment. And so, again, to come back to the title of Chosen Suffering, and in reading the book, I know the answer to this, but do you feel that there is a correlation between fulfillment and this chosen suffering?
I do, and I think the title the title of the book. I know this isn't about the book, but just where I came up with the name was that as much as I feel like in my life, I move toward people like Chet and others that don't mind discomfort and long for it and look for it, that never brought me to my knees. Mm. So no matter how hard I worked for something, and wrestling is a non-negotiable. You can be really successful in life, I would say, to some degree, and not choose to be physically miserable, right? But maybe it's emotional, maybe it's mentally challenging. But chosen suffering, was the foundation of becoming an elite wrestler. But never once did I beg for mercy through the choices I made that were difficult. Mm. Mercy, I was brought to my knees through unchosen suffering, which is kind of the backbone of the book. And it's the things that are outside your control. For me, that brought me to my knees, and that was the loss of my son at 6 years old. Yeah. I never reflected on life until I lost Teague, until we lost Teague. Now it's, where is he? What's the meaning of life? It was always just wake up in the morning and work hard and always treat people well. And I wasn't certain there was a God or no God, but that loss, the loss of Teague, for me, I think maybe choosing, people chosen suffering is, listen, you have a drinking problem, a drug problem, you have an addiction. That's chosen suffering as well, and that can bring you to your knees. But that wasn't my story. My story was the unchosen suffering of losing my son that led me to my faith, which, quite frankly, was the most powerful and most important decision I've ever made, which is, and I think it's the most important decision any human being will ever make. It's not where I'm going to live, who I'm going to marry, what my job's going to be. It's, is there a God or not? And should I follow him? Is he worthy of me following him?
Yeah.